an ineffective method that prisons themselves are going out of their way to create rehab programs.
Durham blames the opioid epidemic for the jail's population surge in recent years. The jail has 1,800 beds, but there are 2,300 people here now, so many sleep in cots on the floor. Despite the high levels of drug abuse among the jail population nationwide, few U.S. jails offer drug treatment programs. They don't allocate the funds or have the physical space.
Basically, since politicians won't do it, it seems that some are taking it upon themselves. And when I say politicians, I don't just mean Republicans, mind you. I mean politicians! Last year, Pennsylvania's state Senate voted to outlaw supervised drug injection sites in a bipartisan move supported by many Democrats. Philadelphia Senator and Democrat Christine Tartaglione sponsored the bill and said that these clinics enable addiction, even though decades of research demonstrates the exact opposite. Also last year, Idaho's state legislature passed a new law that caps funding for naloxone, also known as Narcan, a drug that can help reverse fentanyl overdoses. This actually dismantles a pre-existing state program that aimed to more widely distribute Narcan at substance abuse centers, which would have made sense because it reverses fentanyl overdoses. It's like capping anti-venom funding in the middle of snake season. Officials with Idaho's Department of Health and Welfare warned that the overdose rate in 2023 would likely have been 4 times higher without the Narcan distribution system they'd already set up. In other words, they are punishing addicts for being addicted, and the punishment is death. Similarly, many states have laws on the books criminalizing life-saving fentanyl test strips, which help drug users determine if their cocaine, meth, heroin, or other drugs are mixed with fentanyl. The strips aren't entirely foolproof, but research suggests that they help lower the risk of fentanyl overdose, particularly among younger users. None of these ideas are a magic bullet that will fix the problem overnight, hence the term harm reduction and not magic bullet, which is apparently just a blender, which is a huge letdown. Painkiller abuse is, at this point, deeply entrenched in American society and will require a variety of approaches from various angles over an extended period of time to make better. Or, hear me out, or we can just blame immigrants.
Just since the time I was elected Speaker, less than 100 days ago, more than 700,000 illegals have been welcomed into our country illegally by the Biden administration. American school children have been forced into virtual schools. Why? So migrants can sleep in their school buildings. Korean War veterans of the U.S. have been booted from nursing homes that were sold to house migrants. Our streets are being flooded with fentanyl. Hundreds of thousands of children and adults are being poisoned and losing their lives.
Grrr! You tell 'em, Mike, you weird little cabbage. See, with most debates around drug addiction in America, it all comes down to supply versus demand. We can either make it harder for Americans to get their hands on the drugs they desperately wish to purchase and consume, or we can treat the underlying issues that get Americans hooked on those drugs in the first place. As evidence from all the stuff I already said, we aren't doing great when it comes to addressing the demand stuff. Maybe a D? D minus? In this case, D stands for dick poor. So then we have the supply. That's typically seen as something the GOP is primarily concerned about and gets mad at Democrats for not caring about. Grr! And gripped by a cold fear usually reserved for space marines who realize the alien they're fighting has acid for blood, right-wing pundits and politicians assure us that America's fentanyl problem is directly linked to immigration and border security, and by extension, our fentanyl-loving president. Last July, Illinois Republican Congresswoman Mary Miller tweeted that the Biden administration opened our borders and flooded our streets with fentanyl. And here's Republican Arizona Rep. Andy Biggs opening a House Judiciary Committee session on border security last year.
It is open. The border is dangerous. Drugs pour across. International terrorists, criminal gang members, people from all over the world, indeed over 150 nations, have come through. We can't even vet most of those individuals.
The reasoning is clear. If we want to get America off the fentanyl train and onto the sobriety blimp, all we need to do is keep out the tired, poor, huddled masses yearning to distribute drugs shaped like candy. By the way, forget lollipops, go for a fake pixie stick, alright? It's way easier. There you go, some free fentanyl advice. You're welcome. And much like our solutions for drug addiction, our solutions for drug smuggling are even more punitive. Some might say, horrifying. Greg Abbott put out an official disaster declaration about the border saying President Biden's open border policies have paved the way for dangerous gangs and cartels, human traffickers, and deadly drugs like fentanyl to pour into our communities. Ronald Fleshbag DeSantis supported the idea of just fucking shooting any migrants that might be smuggling drugs. And Vivek Ramaswamy, he's just doing his own thing, I guess. He might be an idiot. The point being that the GOP has largely agreed that in order to stop fentanyl deaths, the most pressing goal is to crack down on the border, specifically stopping migrants. That is their number one solution to this crisis. But you might notice that whenever these pundits and politicians talk about immigration, they always kind of tack on fentanyl in a vague sense. It's always like, we've got this open border for all these migrants, plus, fentanyl's a problem. I mean, if you get what I'm saying.
Every American recognizes that they're not safe with this open border. His lawless actions have resulted in, 150,000 fentanyl deaths.
That's Republican Tennessee Rep. Mark Green on Fox News. Here he is doing it again on Instagram, along with helpful captions.
Well, we've learned a considerable amount of what's going on right now on the border, and it's much of what we already anticipated. But just in this one sector, we found out today that the cartels are making $32 million a week. That's one of 9 sectors, $32 million a week, just trafficking humans. That's not counting the, fentanyl that they're pouring into this country.
See, there's a reason that fentanyl is always kind of lumped in like that. It's a bit of a reveal for this episode, actually. And that reason is because, spoilers, immigrants aren't actually smuggling fentanyl into the United States. Seriously, the thing the GOP is hinging all their fentanyl policies on is not happening. At least that's not the primary way it gets brought in. And when you stand back and think about it for a second, of course that's not what's happening. A lot of the people seeking a new life in America by crossing our southern border are fleeing from drug cartels in the first place. They're so anti-fentanyl, they picked up their lives and moved to another country to get away from it. Can you say the same? Last year, 88% of entrants to a migrant shelter in Nogales on the Mexico-Arizona border said they were coming to the U.S. to escape violence, as opposed to coming here for new economic opportunities. So it's pretty silly to think that these people went to the cartels and said, hey, I'm about to embark on a several thousand-mile, extraordinarily dangerous trek with my family to an extremely hostile nation trying to keep me out with barbed wire fences, largely in order to avoid being killed or kidnapped by you, the person I would have to talk to make this happen. And I was wondering, you want me to bring some pills along? Just see if we can make this a win-win? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that fentanyl isn't coming from Mexico, nor am I saying that there isn't an international component to this whole dilly. We're gonna do the ad dance, and when we come back, we will 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, and then tell you who is to blame for the fentanyl crisis. It's so exciting! Please stick around, at least as long as it takes to trace an IP address. Ah! Sorry, that was a fart. That's what farts sound like. Cut to ads. Hello, my lovers. I'd like to tell you about Stamps.com. If you know me, and all my lovers do, you know that I have a small business mailing ham to people. Lots of ham. It's definitely real ham, made from pigs. And between the ham mailing and this show, it's hard to balance work and life. With Stamps.com, you can streamline your postage or pigstage needs and cut down on the more tedious parts of running a thriving ham business. All you need is a computer and printer. They'll even send you a free scale that you can use to measure ham or whatever else you need to ship. I don't know why it's not ham, but if it isn't, it works for that too. The writer of this ad actually uses Stamps.com for his other business because it's just so easy. And the speaker of this ad, me, has also used Stamps.com to send gifts to our Patreon subscribers. You can keep track of mailing lists, print the postage all in one go, and then just drop it off at the post office without waiting in line. It's extremely useful, and you can do it at any time thanks to their mobile app. Their mobile oink! Ham stuff. Any size business can benefit from this, from a large and multi-location organization to a humble home office that sells ham that's definitely made from pigs and nothing else. You even get rates you can't get elsewhere, like up to 89% off USPS and UPS. So put more life into your work-life balance with Stamps.com. Sign up with promo code MORENEWS for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage, pigstage, and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code MORENEWS. Do it. Hey, welcome back to The Sting Show. It's just a show. We're just doing a show here. No one's being secretly monitored from a van outside called Big Cody's Heating and Plumbing. I mean, why would my real name be on the van? Use your head, idiot. All right, so before the break, we revealed with gusto that immigrants aren't actually smuggling fentanyl into the United States, defying everything the GOP says about the border crisis. Can you believe it? They lied to us. So who's really bringing the fentanyl into this country? Any guesses? I feel like Detective Poirot over here. Is it the Lord or perhaps the manager? Which vaccine skeptic will it be? But before my grand reveal, let's back up. We're skipping around like a cool 90s indie film. To understand what's actually happening at the southern US border, we must follow the real-world, non-imaginary journey of black market fentanyl into the country. Ideally, we would have made a brightly animated Schoolhouse Rock-style musical number out of this, but we couldn't think of anything that rhymes with N-phenyl, N12, phenylethyl 4, piperdinylepropamide. Oh, perfect. Let's get that cartoon in the works then. Awesome. Much like everything these days, fentanyl is like a hip and slimmer and worse version of the stuff we used to have. If heroin is one of the clunky CRT televisions, fentanyl is the QLED 4K smart TV that makes you watch ads in order to swap inputs. See, the fact that heroin is a crop means producing it in mass quantities takes a lot of effort and manual labor. You have to pay farmers to grow your poppies, and one assumes that drug cartels hate paying vendors for services, not to mention their company retirement plan is a hole in the desert. Fentanyl, on the other hand, is relatively easy to produce, requiring only a small lab that you can set up basically anywhere. Because it's so potent, ubiquitous, cheap, and impossible to distinguish visually from drugs like cocaine or heroin, fentanyl is also commonly mixed in with other street drugs to cut costs. In fact, a lot of surveys indicate that many people who've overdosed on fentanyl didn't even realize they'd taken it. A survey conducted among 17 British Columbia harm reduction sites found 73% of those who tested positive for fentanyl had no idea they'd ingested it. And because it's so damn potent and gets mixed with other drugs, it's really hard to know if what you're taking will kill you.
Fentanyl is so lethal that the amount in this bag is enough to kill 5 non-tolerant people. Do you remember the first time you took fentanyl?
Honestly, I don't remember the exact time because I probably thought it was heroin. Didn't even realize I was getting fentanyl.
I had bought like 2 prescriptions of Perk 10s, thinking that they was Perk 10s, but they was fentanyl pills.
You're talking on, you bought this on the street from somebody, but you thought it was...
Yeah, I mean, they had the bottle and the name on them and everything.
Did you know there was fentanyl in it the first time you took it?
Not at all. It's almost indistinguishable.
That's from a local news special called Contaminated, the Fentanyl Crisis in St. Louis, which covers a lot of great information about the problem. Most illegal fentanyl used to come to the US directly from China, but after their government started cracking down on drug trafficking in 2019, this pushed the market underground to be with all the cool skateboarders and Dostoevsky. Today, Mexican drug cartels press it into pills that look like what you'd buy from a pharmacy. They then smuggle these pills across the border into the US. But believe it or not all Mexican people have the same job. And as we said before the break, the cartels don't use migrants who are crossing the border hoping for a better life as fentanyl smugglers. Obviously. And not just because the migrants don't want to do it. After all, those are the people Customs and Border Patrol are stopping and harassing and putting into cages. Giving it to them is like an NFL player handing the football to someone in the crowd. According to former Border Patrol agent turned author Jen Budd, nearly all the incoming migrants who endeavor to cross the border walk directly up to U.S. officials and turn themselves in so they can apply for asylum. So who is bringing the drugs in? I'll give you a hint. That's right, our director and hundreds of other U.S. citizens, but mostly our director. He's wanted in 7 states. Not this one, though. This one, too? All right, well, see, it turns out Mexican drug cartels are actually pretty good at crime, much like our director. So, being smart about it, cartels use people who already have the legal right to cross the border from Mexico into the States. You know, Americans. That's right, while many Mexican nationals are absolutely benefiting financially from the drug trade, its import into this country is almost entirely an American problem. It's us. We are the problem. Americans are smuggling fentanyl into the U.S. where other Americans eagerly purchase it from them. Americans like Joanne Marion Segovia, the executive director of a Northern California police union, who was arrested last year for receiving fentanyl shipments from India, Hong Kong, Hungary, and Singapore, sometimes using her work computer to arrange the pickups and drop-offs. In 2021, 86.3% of all convicted fentanyl drug traffickers were United States citizens. That's 10 times higher than the trafficking conviction rate among undocumented immigrants. Over 90% of Border Patrol fentanyl seizures happened at legal crossing points, not on the routes used by migrants to cross. And more than 95% of the total fentanyl seized along the U.S.-Mexico border was found in personal vehicles. In 2021, the Border Patrol encountered a total of 1.8 million people attempting to cross into the United States for asylum. Just 279 of them, 0.02% of the total, had any fentanyl on their person whatsoever. 0.02%. They're far more likely to have toy cars and cans of tuna on them than an illegal drug. We know that because we take their shit when they are caught. This is all so glaringly obvious and so clearly backed up by all of the available evidence. The issue is closer to climate change than abortion. It's less a moral quandary and closer to just plain old misinformation. Even Fox News has been forced to adjust their anti-immigration arguments around pesky reality.
And CBP sources tell Fox News these large group spread are creating a distraction for the cartels to move things like the deadly drug fentanyl. Here in the Eagle Pass area alone, there are more than 60 miles of unpatrolled border right now because agents are busy processing migrants.
Oh, see, it's not that the migrants are bringing it in, which they're not. They're just distracting us from checking the vehicles that are. Wow, it's almost like it's somehow always the migrants' fault, even when it's not actually that. And if you're wondering, this argument doesn't really hold water either. For starters, if we were more concerned about the fentanyl than the fact that migrants are trying to enter the US, we could easily reassign more agents to check those cars. But even if we did that, solving the problem of fentanyl smuggling still wouldn't be as simple as putting more guards along the border. After all, fentanyl is it's really small. Research from Scientific American indicates that the total amount of pure fentanyl consumed in the US in 2021 only amounted to something in the single digit of metric tons. Just 1 kilo of fentanyl can be cut into over 50,000 individual doses. In fact, because it's easier to conceal than other drugs, tighter controls around border crossings actually tend to increase the flow from Mexico into the US. After all, why bother with cocaine or heroin when that's more likely to be found? So when the pandemic prompted the government to essentially shut down a lot of legal traffic across the border, it helped accelerate the cartel's switchover from cocaine and heroin to fentanyl full time. Seizures at legal ports of entry quadrupled from 2019 to 2021, despite tighter overall constraints on people entering the country. In that same time frame, annual drug overdose deaths nearly doubled, primarily due to fentanyl. In other words, realistically, we're never going to stop all the fentanyl from getting in. You just won't. Fireworks are illegal in Los Angeles, but it still sounds like Stalingrad outside every time the Dodgers win. We're bad at keeping stuff off the streets that the people enjoy. And by any measure, Americans absolutely love drugs. Cannot get enough of them. And the reason for that has nothing to do with immigrants or even cartels. It's of course because of the people who started our opioid epidemic. You know the ones.
I was taught when I was a medical student that if somebody has pain, they're not going to get addicted to a substance and to an opioid, okay? I was taught that. Now that seems like foolishness, right?
More than 263,000 Americans died from an overdose involving a prescription opioid from 1999 through 2020.
Our job was to write out the Percocet or the oxycodone or the hydrocodone for, John Doe. 1 to 2 tabs every 4 to 6 hours is needed for pain. 120 tabs, 160 tabs with 2 refills. And that was common practice after most surgical procedures.
Right. If we really want to get to the heart of the issue, we of course need to start here. The CDC divided our opioid crisis into 3 eras, much like a Taylor Swift tour, only with an inversely proportional number of people paying attention. The first wave started in the 1990s, when drug companies first got millions of Americans hooked on prescription painkillers like OxyContin, while intentionally misleading the public about the risk of addiction and bribing doctors to fling pills at anyone with a stubbed toe. Perhaps you saw Hulu's limited series Dope Sick, in which a famous celebrity pretends to get hooked on opioids. See? Don't you care now? If it can happen to Tim Burton's Batman, it can happen to any one of us. The second wave hit around 2010, as addicts began turning to more widely available street drugs as substitutes for costly and increasingly difficult to obtain prescription pills. By 2015, heroin deaths surpassed annual casualties from opioid pills. As of 2016, the US consumed around 80% of the world's opioid supply, despite representing only around 4% of the global population. We just gobble this stuff up while other countries watch, or even profit off of it. Remember when I said that this originally started in China? You might have imagined that coming from seedy criminals working in the underground, perhaps in a sweet skate park filled with runaway teenage ninjas. But sadly, for everyone, that wasn't the case.
I was shocked to find this giant company with hundreds of young salespeople sitting at desktop computers. They all spoke great English. They were basically selling ingredients for fentanyl to Western customers. And it looked just like any other company. What I found out later was that the Chinese government actually subsidizes some of these companies and promotes the work that they do. These people have like retirement plans and health plans. It was considered a really good job.
Wow, they got a retirement plan selling opioids to Americans. Those drugs, ironically, being Americans' retirement plans. And this brings us to Wave 3, the final insult, otherwise known as now. Opioid overdose deaths these days are mainly caused by fentanyl and fentanyl analogs bought on the black market. Related deaths in the U.S. doubled each year between 2013 and 2016 due to the proliferation of illegally manufactured fentanyl and substitutes like the even more potent carfentanil, which was developed to serve as anesthetic for large animals and or me after shooting a Ben Shapiro episode. In more ways than one, the switch over to fentanyl has been a huge boon for traffickers the world over, making it one of the few things to which you can say, maybe we should take heroin. It's probably safer. After all, at least heroin is a crop, you know? It's natural, man. Oh, it's organic and farm to table. It's woke, is what I'm saying. Injecting heroin makes you woke. And so going back to supply versus demand, while the supply side absolutely begins in other countries, it is Americans who smuggle the drug in. It is Americans who deal these drugs. And it is Americans who began a massive opioid epidemic due to doctors overprescribing drugs that were being pushed by pharmaceutical companies. Fentanyl pushed legally as tablets, sprays, and even, yes, lollipops.
A pharmaceutical salesman went undercover to expose his company for illegally marketing an addictive cancer drug. Bruce Boyes was tasked with promoting Actique, a pain-killing lollipop containing the opioid fentanyl for treatments not approved by the FDA.
That's right, they did it. They did the thing we all fear. All that hype around fentanyl candy, and the only people actually doing that was the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, no one hands them out on Halloween. They were made for other adults. They're a classic party favor, like cocaine gummies or ecstasy in a bread pudding. So if Republicans really think we should ignore the demand and just go whole hog into the supply problem, it's kind of funny that by focusing on immigration, they are completely failing to do that. Immigration has nothing to do with the issue. But since these politicians don't like migrants, possibly because they're, I don't know, racist, they have found it convenient to link these two problems together, to blame fentanyl addiction on this group of people they don't want. It's no different than if they blamed child molestation on, I don't know, gay people. Can you imagine? This is all to say that when Texas Governor Greg Abbott spends hundreds of millions of dollars putting migrants on buses and shipping them off to states he doesn't personally like, it has nothing to do with drug smuggling. When he vows to put up more razor wire along border crossings, he's not out to stop Americans with bags of fentanyl under their spare tires. He's trying to hurt and punish refugees. And if anyone tries to tell you differently, they are either a liar or have been lied to. Me, I'd never lie about anything or anyone, about the FBI listening to things or whatnot, anything like that. Anyway, it's time for another quick break so I can hash out some important news related stuff. When we return, we're going to talk about some actual ways we could deal with the fentanyl problem in this country. You know, besides blaming poor people and brown people. It seems compelling. Stick around. They're going to stick around. Stick around. Nobody move! Don't! Stay right there. I'm not gonna hurt you, okay? I'm not gonna hurt you. I just want to tell you about patreon.com/somemore-news. That's our Patreon. It's where you can pay just $5 a month and get access to some more and even more news, totally ad-free. No more ads, little one. No more ads. There are also tiers where you can get your name in the credits or even do a digital hangout with myself and the rest of the Some More News crew. The Screws, as we call ourselves, right? We do now. And since I got you here, I should also mention our merch store. Yes, oh my goodness. Oh, that's shop.somemorenews.com for a bunch of t-shirts and tote bags and other stuff with Warmbo on it. This doesn't have Warmbo on it, it's just got me on it, but the other stuff has Warmbo on it, and you love Warmbo on things. Sick freaks. So to recap, we have our Patreon at patreon.com/somemorenews and our merch store at shop.somemorenews.com. You can also just like this video or subscribe to us here on the tubes or wherever you get podcasts. There's a podcast, and this is a news show. We're like, we cover news events in a humorous way. We have a little fun, and we film it, and then there's a series of still images in succession. It creates the illusion of movement, one after the other with sound. You take that footage, we edit it with some graphics, put some graphics up on screen. Look at all the graphics we put on the screen, and that's patreon.com/somemorenews and or shop.com/somemorenews. News! It's what we call current events. Hey now, we're back now. It's just you and me here, okay? There's nobody else. Tell me all your secrets. Please. Fine. Before the break, we talked about how immigration has nothing to do with the opioid crisis, a problem that's almost entirely American in origin. Despite this, a lot of politicians seem very focused on punishing either migrants or drug users or both. Much like our immigration policies, the war on drugs has been ongoing and a complete failure. We've been locked into the same drug war that has consistently failed us since it was first introduced, racistly, during the Nixon administration. Going back to supply and demand, basically the current policy is to pretend we're doing something about the supply and then punish the people who demand the drugs. So, here's an idea. What if we didn't do that? Since none of this is working. For example, starting with supply, we could install more advanced technology at mail inspection facilities and ports. Maybe even come up with a few uses for AI apps other than revenge porn and complicated plagiarism. Yes, more data from and less privacy for everyone. That's the solution? God, so many problems. We could establish more robust central databases on illicit drug seizures to get a clearer idea of exactly where fentanyl is coming from and where we actually do need to be in that 2021 infrastructure bill. You know, the interrupt the full track, but because Congress has an additional $300 million required to install warehouses, although statistically speaking, again, none of these suggestions are all. You don't need that many Americans to throw under their tires on the way back from Ensenada to have enough hand for state. But it would at least be an actual conversation worth having with an advantaged, voiceless group with legitimately no direct connection to the problem at hand. Don't get me wrong, that was a banger idea, a real feel-good triumph of rationality. But we've tried it, and it hasn't worked for a while. Maybe one day, we could possibly consider trying something else. That's the demand, because obviously with that, we wouldn't have to worry about the supply side as much. Many users have or had problems with chronic pain and initially took the drug as a prescribed treatment before getting addicted. But that's not the only path to fentanyl addiction, and it doesn't explain why the US has such a uniquely significant opioid problem, encompassing more than 1.1 million fatal overdoses since the year 2000. A 2019 paper from the Brookings Institution notes that opioid deaths tend to cluster in communities with recent pronounced declines in employment and marriage rates, labeling them, along with suicides and alcohol-related deaths, deaths of despair. Whether or not that reflects a baseline link between socioeconomic disparity and opioid addiction, are already facing other daunting challenges, is sort of immaterial. Those things are in action, and even sober everybody up. filled with people who apparently have better job benefits than us. And in true American fashion, our solution has just been to increase that misery, to try and punish people instead of actually addressing the underlying issues with poverty and pain and a lack of health care. To suggest firing missiles into Mexico to destroy the cartel's easy to replicate drug labs. My goodness. But if we really wanted to fix this, really wanted to, we need to, at the very least, have a safety net for people who can't work or function because of pain or a disability, and create safe and available programs to help with addiction. Bare minimum starting point. And our solutions need to recognize the fact that we will never be able to make all the drugs in the world vanish. And it's a reality of the human condition that some of us will always need help regulating our drug use or maintaining a healthy relationship with substances. That doesn't make drug users, and it turns out drug traffickers, not a part of us. After all, you can't spell us without US. The 8-ball is coming from inside the house. Oxy is an inside jab. Jab. They jab it. I ran out. But as a nation, we're not even having that discussion. We're busy pretending that there's some kind of military solution to addiction, or that we can blame it on the neighbors. In fact, quick aside, you're not allowed to say from now on that we need to restrict immigration because of fentanyl. And if you do, you should be forced to say that more than restricting illegal immigration and asylum claims to stop fentanyl from flowing into this country, you think we should actually restrict Americans from going to Mexico and coming back from Mexico. We can't go anywhere anymore. Us with our fentanyl problem and our public and specifically school shooting problem. We have to stay put and deal with our stuff, and then we can think about going to Mexico or to Alaska via Canada. Okay, so that's the news. I thank you for sharing it with me. And Papusa, now! Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Director. I tried to warn you. I made a bunch of clumsy references. I held up the mirror, the whole bit. Oh, they pushed me into it, man. I'm super cool, and I'm down. They found my grow lab, okay? They found my grow lab, and they used my grow lab against me. You gotta believe me. Oh, he's gone. Okay, well, send him a gift basket or something.
You're not gonna get me, cop. Freeze!
Never mind. I won't send him anything. Okay, come to think of it, I don't think cops normally dress in suits. Who's... Hey, all my lawyers! I don't have any lawyers. Hey everybody, that was a bit. Our director's fine. Say hi. Hi, I'm fine. My name's Will and I'm alive. See? I didn't inadvertently get our director killed. Bye. Somebody like and subscribe, please. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We've got patreon.com/somemore news. We've got a podcast called Even More News. We've got this show, Some More News, as a podcast called Some More News. Check it out. Log on, go to podcast.gov and / the ones that I want to listen to. And that's where you'll find our shows. We have merch. Look at it. I'm showing it. Yeah, I'm shodying it. It's Cody's shody. Show this shirt. We've got merch. So I really miss our director.
We had a few corrections on surprise inspection, and I considered if I should count those, but in the end, I decided I would. The joke in surprise inspection was, according to a new poll, former President Trump is leading President Biden by double digits in Iowa because he paid off a corn star. That was the first joke, and I forgot to do the thing I do throughout surprise inspection. I forgot to show which writer wrote that. And a bunch of you were very upset. and you wanted me to name the writer, but I have a fun idea. Instead, you guys, I feel like if you're here with us now, you're super fans. I bet you can guess. And so we're gonna put the question up on Sea Captain polls on Twitter. Who wrote the corn star joke? And the first 10 of you who write the correct name will get a signed headshot from that writer. A headshot I will force them to sign. And I'm not gonna give you any clues as to who wrote it, but do specify in your answer if you want the old headshot or the cool new sexy one. And if I see any of your handles answering multiple times, different people, you don't get the headshot. One guess. We mentioned Rafalka, an Olympic horse. That was a female horse, Rafalka. Also, they have not worn top hats in dressage, in competitive dressage since 2021. They realized the top hat was where they were hiding the horse steroids. Also, we implied the Brits would be the best at dressage. It turns out the Germans dominate international dressage. And someone pointed out this is the classic outcome. The Brits invent a sport, and then they introduce it to the rest of the world and get their ass kicked. There is a hospital. It's quite fun doing it amongst ourselves, but shouldn't we teach it to the Germans? Won't it be hilarious to see the decorate? Opinion is split on my Australian accent. A lot of people think it's terrible, and the other half think it's... I did get some notes. An Australia viewer said that there's a lot of flies in Australia, and so Australians talk out of the side of their mouths as to not like inhale insects. So it's gonna be a bit more like that. So that's solved. Clouds have nothing to do with turbulence. The presence of clouds is often an indicator of stable pressure and less turbulence. Sounds like a trap. Sounds like you're asking me to fly right into a cloud and then nobody ever sees me again. I tried. A jackal said this and I thought it was dumb, and then a second jackal said it and I was like, f it, I'll say it. The plural of Harry Potter isn't Harry Potter's, it's Harry's Potter. We had a photo about log traffic. Like if the New Jersey Turnpike was a log flume, and that it was bumper to bumper, and then the graphic had a bunch of spray coming off each individual log. But of course, if a log was static, you wouldn't have the spray coming off it. And I think graphics knows that, and just in general, just doesn't give a another surprise inspection correction. The joke was a British woman was arrested yesterday after she allegedly threw a milkshake at UK politician Nigel Farage. So I guess her milkshake brought all the boys to Scotland Yard. Here's the correction. Scotland Yard is the informal name for New Scotland Yard, the headquarters for the Metropolitan Police. The milkshake incident happened in Clacton, so comes under the remit of Essex Police, whose headquarters is in Chelmsford. So the punchline should have been, I guess her milkshake brought all the boys to the remit of Essex Police in Chelmsford. Thanks for the fix. Last week's correction, we told another Christy Nome joke about her the tragic incident, not for her. She was pretty, I mean, again, she put it in the book. She didn't think it was tragic, so. And someone quite fairly, and again, there's multiple corrections in a row, we made a joke about Christy Nome. Someone wrote in, the Christy Nome jokes are beating a dead horse and a goat, then another horse, then a puppy, and yet another horse. Nick Cage bought a dinosaur skull, but it was not a T-Rex skull. I said last week it was a T-Rex skull. T-Rexes are exclusive to North America. Nick Cage bought a Tarbosaurus skull. But I wonder if he knew when he bought it that it was a Tarbosaurus skull. And I wonder if he was super bummed out about that. Maybe there's someone who would tell us what that would sound like. Oh, hey. Okay, I need you to do an impression real quick, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're Nicolas Cage, okay?
Yeah.
You just bought what you thought was a T-Rex skull.
Uh-huh.
And then you have somebody over to your house who knows a lot about dinosaurs. So I want you to say, "This is my T-Rex skull," and then I'm going to say, "Actually, that's a Tarbosaurus skull," and then I want you to react the way you think Nick Cage would react, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is my T-Rex skull.
Oh, actually, Nick, I hate to tell you this, that's a Tarbosaurus skull. I forgot something, so Alex, forget the croissant thing. I'm gonna need the next clip next. Copy? Forget about that one. The other one, okay. You guys, somebody has honestly written in, and their question is, I understand what those two rivets are for, because they're connecting this bar to this bar. But what are these two rivets for? Like, what purpose do they serve? And once they mentioned it, I couldn't stop looking at it. And so I think it's coming out. Uh-oh. That would have been a good ending for corrections, but of course we need to get to celebrity baby teeth. And I know a lot of people don't like celebrity baby teeth. I don't like celebrity baby teeth. I had a chance to put it in the show. I didn't. Real quick. We had this punch card. We keep getting punch cards wrong. So they fixed it, right? So now you can see the table through it, but why is it getting punched from the back? All right, so celebrity baby teeth. I know a lot of you don't like it. I get it. If you make it through, here's the thing. If you hate it so much, tune out now. Nobody's going to blame you. But if you stay till the end of corrections, there's a very cool surprise this week at the end of corrections. And I apologize that I'm making you suffer through celebrity baby teeth to get to it, but you will be rewarded. Before we get to celebrity baby teeth, somebody did write in, how far will baby teeth go? But they had a typo, and the sentence read, how fat will baby teeth go? And long story short, now Jermaine is writing a sketch called Fat Baby Teeth. He wanted me to assure everyone he's worried. The babies aren't fat, the teeth are. He told me that's the funny part. Also, you know, we're going to go back to about halfway through page 4 on celebrity baby teeth because I hadn't read ahead, and there were some props, and I feel like I wasn't giving it a fair shake. So and again, I know this just keeps making it worse. Very cool surprise. Lost teeth would be out. They would be there. And Dakota Johnson's teeth would be out. They would be there. Let's just assume this. We'll be having a lot of fun, rolling laugh, rolling laugh. All right, just picking it up bottom. For whoever's gonna eventually do the supercut. Instead, why not enjoy looking at Samuel L. Jackson's baby teeth? Oh, wow, look. This one came with a little Kangol on it. See the difference? How it's playing now that we have the props? Just kidding, it didn't come like that. We added it to the tooth. Cute, right? Now, at this point, you might be wondering why you, the viewer, are still watching Celebrity Baby Teeth. Or perhaps you're asking yourself just how deep this twisted rabbit hole goes. Don't try to answer those questions. Instead, answer this one. Can you guess whose baby's teeth these are? If you, for some reason, guessed British power couple, David and Victoria Beckham, then you are correct. And look, I made these into little bracelets I sometimes tie on my wrist and wear around the house. Now, before you ask, now we're on page 6. Seth, are you sure everything is okay with you? Are you sure you don't need some help? Just shh, 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 shh. All right, let's move on to you guys ready for the surprise? There isn't one. I don't know why I said that. I just really wanted everybody to stay for Celebrity Baby Teeth. I'm just kidding. There is a surprise. Do you guys remember how last week I said I received a correction via text from Larry David about my vampire Larry David impression, and then last week we revisited that. I received another correction from Larry David, and I asked him, would you like to make that correction in person? And he's not here. What's wrong with you? Larry David, you want to come do corrections? Well, that's it. Got to put all these back in the bag. Summer, right? Pretty good time. Could be a big summer for NBC. Olympics? That's it. There's nothing else. Oh.
If we're not here next week, it's not our fault. Tell your friends. We don't make the decisions. See me when you see me.
Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said that faith is not wanting to know what is true. And Mark Twain, another philosopher in the Giant Mustache Club, agreed, saying that faith means believing what you know yourself. I often quote the two together because they both got it right, and I see that demonstrated regularly even among longtime friends and family, who are my target audience, the ones I most want to reach, but who I can't reach because they don't want to know what the reality really is. They want to make believe something else instead. I usually see this when we're talking about science versus religious dogma, where it's all too easy to show them the proof that what they just said is completely wrong. And it seems as if they already know that because they will what they want to be true, and they don't dare test it to find out that it's not true. That's what I can't wrap my head around. I don't understand being incurious. I mean, I can understand being, more interested in one topic than another, or not being at all interested in a given topic, but not being curious about anything, especially if it's consequential. Because I do understand that only accurate information has practical application. Because you're going to base your decisions on whatever information you have. Thus, the only value information can have is in however accurate you can show it to be. But if you can't show that it's accurate at all, it has no value at all. So if it's a matter of consequence, like how you're going to vote, for example, then you ought to at least confirm that your understanding is correct. Do you at least have the facts straight? But I notice that the MAGA people typically don't know any more about politics than they don't know about science. Yet in both spheres, they live in a Dunning-Kruger wonderland where they think they know more than every expert about both subjects. It's bad enough when we're talking about religious nonsense, but it's actually worse when we're talking about politics. And the reason why it's worse is because politics is real, and it's right now. We're not talking about something that happened long ago and maybe doesn't matter so much anymore. We're talking about what's about to happen. So it really does matter what the truth is, because if you get this wrong, then someone's going to suffer, be it politically, socially, economically, maybe physically, and maybe even criminally. Now, because I'm an activist, I have to listen to a lot of political commentary, which is kind of my job. And I argue with people in real life and online who think they know more than me because they listen to nonsense networks like Fox News. And of course, I've also seen reports that if you get your news from Fox, then you are actually less informed than if you never saw any news at all. Because Fox is just pure propaganda. That's all it is. They're listed as entertainment rather than news because their job is not to inform you, but to mislead you, to manipulate and motivate you through fear and emotional outrage. And of course, the same goes for all those other, hard right-wing conservative channels too. And I realize there's Democratic propaganda, though nowhere near as dishonest. But I'm not interested in media spin in either direction. So I'm careful to avoid biases in reporting whenever I can. I mean, it's one thing if it's the opening monologue of a late night comedy show, because I know how to tell when someone is only joking. At least left-leaning comedians tend to know how to tell a joke, which is something right-wing conservatives don't seem to know how to do. But what I especially like is watching Congress directly, unedited, without the opinions of reporters or pundits, so that you know that you're getting the actual raw data, unfiltered by anyone's opinions or biases. Now, again, because I'm a secular activist on the board of directors of a 501c3 dedicated to defending the separation of church and state and the rest of the First Amendment, along with the Constitution as a whole
Ah,
and
I did
the
win the
republic
side
for which it
legs.
stands, then I am especially concerned with and alarmed by Project 2025, a Christian nationalist agenda supported by over 100 conservative organizations, which promises to end my career and deny most of mine and all of our collective rights, and even overturn our secular republic to replace it with an authoritarian, sectarian theocracy under a ruthless dictator in a system that is otherwise ruled by corporate oligarchs, while most of the rest of us wallow in increasing poverty. That's everything that the Russian Federation is now, which is also everything that the founding fathers warned us against and tried to prevent. I know that all of that sounds alarmist, like a paranoid conspiracy theory, and it literally is a conspiracy, actually. But it's not an illusion, nor a secret. We can show that it's real, that there are people in power right now who openly and publicly admit that they really are planning to do exactly this, all of it. Let me prove that to you. Take a look.
You know, Mr. Hamilton, I don't want you to feel left out of this conversation. So I'm going to make sure I ask you some questions. Let me know if you're having problems answering them, because they really should be yes or no. Let's see. You're the executive director for the America First Legal, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And America First Legal is a member of Project 2025, which is dedicated to creating the playbook for the next conservative administration and what it calls the Project Pillars, correct?
We are proud contributors to Project 2025.
Okay. And are you familiar with Project 2025's mandate for leadership?
In fact, I am.
Okay. And in fact, you wrote some of the sections of this mandate related to the DOJ, correct?
Sure did.
And the mandate outlines policy priorities for the next conservative president. Is that correct?
It does.
You've done a great job. I just want to let you know. All right, so let's walk through some of the provisions of the mandate. It calls for eliminating the Department of Education, eliminating the Department of Commerce, deploying the military for the use of domestic law enforcement against protesters under the Insurrection Act of 1807. It also has the repealing of Schedule F status for thousands of federal employees to allow a president to replace career civil servants with unqualified partisan loyalists. That's probably my favorite of it. It also prohibits the FBI from combating the spread of misinformation and disinformation, like Russia and China, who are actively trying to interfere with American elections. I don't know why or how anybody can support Project 2025. And I know that there was allegedly a joke about dictators and whether or not that's funny, but in the United States of America, dictatorships are never funny. And Project 2025 is giving the playbook for authoritarianism as well as the next dictator to come in.
Notice, we're not getting the possibly inaccurate opinions of political pundits. There's no room or time for media spin, and most alarmingly, this is not hyperbole. This is a congressman talking directly to one of the authors of this anti-American agenda and getting him to admit that it really does say each of these things she just listed. Now, there's a lot more terrible things written into this 920-page manifesto that threaten not only to deny us democracy, but to overturn our constitutional republic and ultimately destroy the Constitution, our government, and our country as we know it. And I'll make more videos about that pretty soon. But for the moment, let's just look at the few highlighted points that were listed so far.
It calls for eliminating the Department of Education.
My entire career as an activist struggling against the religious right in defense of secular studies specifically and in support of publication in general. Religious conservatives do not want everyone's children to have equal right or access to education, only the ones whose parents can afford to pay for it. Republican congressmen have already argued that the rest of the kids who cannot afford to go for private schools should return to the workforce. That's why Republicans advocate for lower minimum ages for children to work longer hours or later hours in more dangerous jobs, because they really don't care about children, not everyone's children. Yeah, they don't want anyone's children, not even the rich kids, to understand how things really are. That's why they insist that all the available schools teach religiously biased and politicized propaganda, especially in classes teaching science, sex, or social studies, wherein they can teach an altered history, one favorable to and exclusively interested in white Christians, and that seems to ignore or completely forget about anyone and everyone else.
And eliminating the Department of Commerce.
Now, why would they want to do that? In fact, the mandate for leadership does not appear to explicitly say that they want to eliminate the Department of Commerce, though that is subtly applied, so you have to read it attentively. It's kind of like when you read the Republican Party platform. If you read the national version of it, that one's more sanitized, slightly more sane. But if you read the Texas specific version where they don't expect company to come inspect, that's where they say the quiet parts out loud. That's where you learn that Texas Republicans object to critical thinking because it might challenge a student's fixed beliefs and other things that the national platform knows better than to unambiguously admit. So, for a clearer answer to this question, I went to the Heritage Foundation, who wrote and promote Project 2025, to find out their reasons for shutting down the Department of Commerce. It seems that the biggest one is that it's an umbrella for several other departments, agencies, and programs that conservatives deem too expensive, wasteful, redundant, or unnecessary. Although there are other reasons that they don't get into. Things on the chopping block that were specifically named include the Corporation for Public Broadcasting that funds educational programming. Who wants that, right? The International Trade Administration, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, yeah, because we know that they deal with a lot of climate change, and that would mean human responsibility, and that just might impact the oil industry. So shut the fuck up. So also on the chopping block that was mentioned is the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Education, of course, the Department of Health and Human Services, because we don't believe in vaccines and all that either. The National Science Foundation, because who cares about science? The Minority Business Development Agency, because who cares about minorities? And then the National Marine Fisheries Service and the Advanced Technology Program, the National Weather Service, and the Endangered Species Act. Basically, any program primarily interested in science or environmentalism or cultural development or anything that doesn't promote raping and harvesting all of our natural resources like there's no tomorrow until there literally is no tomorrow left.
Deploying the military for the use of domestic law enforcement against protesters under the Insurrection Act of 1807.
This one should be especially alarming. Remember that just shortly before Trump was elected in 2016, there was a long standoff between a predatory oil pipeline violently attacking and oppressing the Sioux Nation at Standing Rock on the border between North and South Dakota. I was there to see it with my own eyes, what corporate greed would do to people who literally get in their way. The PSYOPs operations, the shooting with rubber bullets, all of that kind of stuff. Now, Obama was invested in this pipeline, and so was Hillary, and so was Trump. But the public image was disastrous. I mean, there were no news stations there, but the news was getting out through, through social media, and it was looking bad. And finally, Obama caved to the recommendations of the Army Corps of Engineers, and he pulled the plug. Now, if Hillary had won the election, I'm sure she would have stood by that decision. But Trump won. And he not only immediately and illegally reversed it, resuming construction, which of course resulted in multiple oil spills, polluting the only available water supply in the area, but Trump also sent in law enforcement to clear out the protesters, and he tried to expand an existing law such that it would have become illegal to protest commercial construction projects. And in fact, I think that law may have gone through, though I don't know. Remember, this is the same guy who 4 years ago ordered the police to fire tear gas into a crowd of people who were protesting police brutality. What do you think Trump will do if he gets to use the military to shut down any protest? Remember also that the extreme court that Trump stacked just might give Trump the power to do what he already said he wants to do and change parts of the Constitution however he wants. Other provisions of Project 2025 would allow him to do that too, regardless what the Supreme Court says. So that under Trump, your right to peaceably assemble to petition the government for redress of grievances will look more like the massacre at Tiananmen Square.
It also has the repealing of Schedule F status for thousands of federal employees to allow a president to replace career civil servants with unqualified partisan loyalists. That's probably my favorite of it.
Just like she said, thousands of trained professionals who normally would continue their careers through every administration would be fired and replaced with unqualified political ideologues based entirely on their loyalty to dear leader, such that all these government agencies become just another extension of Trump's unlimited dictatorial power.
It also prohibits the FBI from combating the spread of misinformation and disinformation, like Russia and China, who are actively trying to interfere with American elections.
Now, why would any dear leader want to eliminate the fact checkers? Is it because all of these right-wing conservative Christian propaganda mills, everything from Fox News to Answers in Genesis, all rely on sensationalized, emotive, exaggerated, misrepresented misinformation? Of course it is. And that's why we'll end up having state news, just like China, Russia, and North Korea already have now, where the information is controlled, censored, and largely fabricated, false. But you're not allowed to question or correct it because of other provisions in Project 2025 that we haven't gotten to yet.
I don't know why or how anybody can support Project 2025.
Understand that when Trump said that we have to vote for him or else we won't have a country left, the truth is that if we elect him, then we won't have a country left. We've seen it happen before. President Putin personally amended the constitution of the Russian Federation, granting himself even more power than he already had. And at that time, the entire Russian government resigned, leaving him in absolute control to fill all these positions with oligarchs and loyalists and whoever would bend the knee to him directly. That's what Trump wants to do here. And he's going to do it, not just because of how many times he's already said that that's what he always wanted, but because that may also be the only way he'll stay out of prison. So when I try to visit the older people in my family, politics eventually come up, and people in my family will invariably say ridiculous things that we can disprove in a moment. Just get on Google. It only takes 2 minutes to realize what you just said is not true. But then when I try to show them the truth of how anything really is, they won't look, because they think everything is propaganda. Everything is just liars lying. So we get to just, if everybody's lying, we just pick whatever lie you want to believe, even though everyone's lying. And so everything's a lie. And that should make you explore this a little bit deeper. No, that's not their philosophy at all. So I have to implore them that we're not lying, and I can prove it. And in one case, for example, recently, I tried to show someone, look, I can't show you anything on the news because you're going to say, well, this came from a news agency that I'm just going to do the genetic fallacy and dismiss anything that news agency says. Okay, well, if I show any kind of reporter or any opinion, you're going to dismiss all of that. But what about this? What about this one little 3-minute video, an unedited video of a congressman talking directly to one of the authors of this anti-American agenda, so that you know that it's real. It's really real, and this isn't somebody's opinion, and it isn't spin. But then the answer I get is, I don't want to see it. But this is important, and you need to know this. And then the answer I get is, I don't want to know. I was so confused by that. I didn't know what to say or do. I don't understand wanting to make the wrong decision, the worst possible decision, based on wrong information that you've already got good reason to believe is wrong. But that but the people that I care about, that I'm trying to reason with, they don't want to know the truth about anything. They're admitting that reason doesn't matter, that they've forsaken their very sanity. Such an admission is deeply confusing to me, and so sad, heartbreaking, really, that I almost want to cry.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're in Canada. Again. Yeah, and we're here with Jessica, my sister, my older sister who has a child now, and who decided to stay up here. She's really f***ed up. But I thought it'd be fun, and she thought it'd be fun, mostly because she just wants to get her hair done and I need to record a video, that we kill two birds with one stone and read some Reddit stories. Am I the scallywag Reddit stories? And we're in, my office is completely empty and boring, so I thought I'd go into my retro 60s shroom room, guest bedroom themed room. So yeah, this is this room. It's really fun. And
I love this
yeah,
room.
we're gonna be fixing her dork ass hair.
You know when you
making
did
her
it last?
super blonde. I don't know.
December. And we just did like a quick little thing because George was,
Yeah, so
I was
we're
a
gonna
little anxious for
bust
time
up her hair. We're gonna make this blonde as and we're gonna read some Reddit.
Mommy makeover.
Exactly. George might make an appearance at some point.
You probably
She's
will.
fine with him being on camera.
I'm fine.
She's
He's
I don't
adorable.
care, but she said she's like, he's cute. Share him with the world, my grand. But he's downstairs with grandma right now, or Nana. So let's get to it. Give them a compliment first before.
Oh, my mom brain. I'm gonna compliment your brains. It's good. Because mine's leaving and you all have very beautiful brains for just living day in, day out, following my sister, enjoying yourselves, like just having humor in your life. It's great. So I compliment your brain.
It's great. Let's get to it. Okay. First, am I the scallywag? Sorry.
Am I the scallywag for yelling at my sister after she leaked private videos of my room?
Okay.
I, 19 female, live with my parents, my younger sister, 16 female, and our 4 dogs.
Sorry.
Recently, my sister sent private videos of my room that she took when I was at my lowest point mentally to her friend.
Oh, because it was messy.
This friend then sent the videos to all of our friends. For everyone we knew to see. My boyfriend, 22 male, and several of our friends saw it before. They finally took it down because my mother told them to. My sister's friend said he did it because I needed to learn my place and that no one was going to give me any sympathy because I didn't deserve it. I screamed at my sister and her friend and called them out for invading my privacy and humiliating me purposely. I blocked my sister's friend and unadded them on everything. I still haven't really talked to my sister. My mother said that I had done it to myself and that I should have kept it clean. Though she knows that I was not at all mentally stable well at those times those videos were taken. Am I the scallywag?
Holy
no.
shit, no. Like, just...
No.
That's
no.
crazy. As someone that... Listen. Okay. I got some problems, all right? When I get low, and she can attest to this, I do not take care of myself, let alone my room, and it becomes so messy. She's probably been through it as well.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of you guys have been through it too.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like, holy shit, that is so embarrassing. And I'd be mortified. Like, I was so embarrassed to have anybody over, so I just never had anybody over.
Yeah.
That's such a greasy bitch thing to do.
Like,
and not helpful in any way.
No, not at all. You're not the scallywag, ma'am. No, because like even well now like even just not mentally low. Like life gets busy. It's
And
hard
that
to
too,
keep.
yeah.
It's hard to keep up with stuff. And then this world is just moving so fast that I find like once you finally get into your area of just being by yourself, you're just like I just want to be by myself.
Yeah,
I don't want to use my free time to clean right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes it just kind of, what do you call it? Tumbleweeds? No. It gathers and it just makes it worse and whatever.
Spiral.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you're not the scallywag. Not at all.
No.
That was so rude that she
awful.
used that.
Okay,
That
put
was
her up
not
for
okay.
adoption or whatever.
And like, okay, now I'll just even play like, okay, say your sister did share it with her best friend. Why did you even go that much farther to share it with everybody else?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that's your bully. Her sister's a bully.
Yeah.
That's just bullying.
Like that's not okay.
Like
Anyway.
my family was just like, what's wrong with you? Like, you need help? You need to talk to somebody? You need help cleaning up?
Yeah, and then that's what you do. Do you need help cleaning up?
Yeah.
Like, you don't make them feel bad for what they're going through. Oh my goodness, the amount of times that, like, our other sister Alyssa, I feel like we put her to work every time she comes home from Missouri.
Absolutely.
We're like, hey, so do you want to make some money and help me clean up this place?
Yeah, exactly.
The amount of times I've I've asked her if she wanted to help clean up my place, and I've paid her. It's worth it for me.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
I forgot to screenshot the comments below, but I'm sure that they agree with us.
Yeah.
On to the next. It's
On to
fine.
the next. Okay. Am I the scallywag for not getting my girlfriend a pastry because she's on a diet? Let's read into it. My girlfriend of 2 years is an absolute gorgeous, stunning woman. I love every inch of her, and I don't think anything needs to change. Over the past few months, she went through a really rough time with some family and work stuff, and as a result, ditched a lot of her exercise and healthy eating habits. As a result of overeating junk food, she put on 10 pounds. While I tell her every day that she's beautiful, and I mean it too, she is uncomfortable, and 2 weeks ago started talking about how she wants to cut out junk food, start exercising again, and go back to her baseline weight. I support her efforts to return to healthy habits. Last week on my way home from work, as I often do, I stopped in my favorite bakery in the city. I usually stop at least once per week, and while in the past I would always pick something up for myself and my girlfriend, this time I only got something for myself. Because she's being vocal about it, she will cut out pastries. I got myself a big cinnamon roll with cream cheese glaze. Ugh.
Delicious.
When I got home, she saw the bakery bag, and she asked, what did you get? I had to admit that I didn't get anything for her, since she said she wants to cut out the pastries. She got upset and said I should have texted her when I'm in the bakery and asked if she wanted anything. I said I just didn't think she would, since she'd been vocal about wanting to cut out certain foods. She then said I shouldn't have gotten anything for myself either, since now I'm just flaunting it and making her feel fat. She cried a lot, and she was a bit cold towards me. I'm generally confused. Okay, so what I'm getting here is she just found the bag. So it's not like he ate it in front of her, like brought it home and ate it in front
he
of her.
didn't? Well, I thought he said he came home with the bag.
When I got home, she saw the bakery bag.
Yeah, like walked through the door.
Oh, why don't you just eat it and get rid of the bag?
I was just gonna say, like, eat in the car. We all do it sometimes, okay? Like, I got it's just like, I got goodies. And
I bought my lunch today.
Usually I'll buy it for somebody else, but then, yeah, like, I don't know.
I mean,
I understand where you're coming from, but you aren't thinking of the other person and how that would make them feel, especially women. Just gonna say it, most women, that's gonna be their reaction. That's you saying, hey McFatty Fatterson, you don't deserve a pastry. And
no.
Like, that's what it says in our heads, because that's just how we function.
That's
you know?
tough.
I mean, that's not for every woman. I'm just like, I'm deeply insecure, so I know I would think that as well. And I have been in those situations where it's like,
well, what, like, if she wanted it so bad, why don't you just say, have half?
Or that, yeah.
Be like, you know what, I'm sorry. Or, like, I mean, that could have been the easy way out.
There's a good way to communicate about that too. You could have been like, he could have said what he said. He's like, oh, I just thought that you were doing this and I thought it would help you. Is that what he said?
He kind of did. He said,
I don't know.
She got upset. I said I should have texted her. Okay. I said I just didn't think she would, since she's been so vocal about wanting to cut out certain foods.
Yeah.
Is that my turkey? Is it?
Hey, buddy.
Here.
We went and looked outside, but it's raining pretty hard.
Oh no, that's no fun. Mommy looks funny right now.
George is here. I don't know. I understand. You're not the asshole, I don't think.
No.
Oh, sorry. What did you think we're doing up here? What did you just say? My mother's, she knows we're filming. You just sat in frame and said, oh, sorry, are you filming? It's me. No, it's fine. Just sit.
Oh, you're just watching, buddy?
George is on the ground.
He can go on the bed, Mom. I'm fine with it. No, I don't. I honestly don't think. He's a scallywag.
Yeah, listen. I got emotional. All right. I immediately thought that
you came home flaunting it in your face.
Yeah, and you didn't think of her feelings, which maybe. But I understand where you're coming from. All right, I'm gonna be.
You're also young. You're young, so they're together for 2 years. It's still like honeymoonish. You'll figure it out. All good. Is there comments? Yes, there is. First one. You're not the scallywag, but you fell right into the trap.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what they say, always ask the question, I'm at the pastry store. Would you like anything dear? Trust me on this one. Save yourself the headache.
Yeah. No, it's just a lesson.
Yeah.
It's just a lesson you learned. You know, it's a tough lesson, but it's a lesson.
I think it's the only sane and healthy answer, no matter asking blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I see your point, but I also would find it thoughtful and supportive if they purposely didn't get me a baked good because of the goals I expressed. Her emotions are valid, but did nothing wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we got there. We got there.
Okay.
Head on over to sour.gg to get your Sour Boys on. New drop every Friday.
Okay, so she's a tower. Now, we had a baby emergency. George was being the baby, and we need to take a break. And while they had a break, I just went him. So we're back. We're like halfway done. Let's get back to it.
Let's get back to it. Okay, am I the scallywag for hiring a private investigator to catch my husband cheating?
Probably not. Well, unless he's not cheating, then that's embarrassing. Let's hear it.
Over the past couple of weeks, I've noticed my husband acting differently. He's been coming home later, taking more frequent trips to conferences, and just overall being more distant. It's probably been a month since we've had flicks, and not for a lack of trying on my part. He's always says he's too tired or he's not in the mood, which is fine, but it's just been all of the sudden and very not like him. One of my friends suggested I hire someone to see where he's going and if he's actually being truthful. She said I was well within my right to be concerned.
Okay. It's not a lot of context, but all right.
No, like, do you not want to talk to him? All right,
I don't know.
I hired a young woman through a company to follow him. He had surgery conference in a city about 2 hours away. He told me exactly where the conference would be. After thinking the decision over for several days, I decided to go through with it. I told the woman I hired to go to the hotel and see if he actually is cheating. I gave her pictures of him, pictures of his car, and even told her what he would be wearing. I was constantly having second thoughts or whether I'm insane for even going to such lengths. She says he wasn't doing anything suspicious the entire day, just sitting through lectures and going to different workshops. But after the conference, he didn't go back to his hotel room. He went to the bar and ordered a drink.
Okay.
She said that my husband saw her and walked up to her and started a conversation. She said he was pleasant and not flirty at all.
Okay.
She said he respected her boundaries and was just making conversation. She told me that most guys she's been hired to follow are usually much more forward and flirty, but it's not out of character for my husband to be more patient and a methodical guy in the room. Anyway, she went to the bathroom and called me to tell me what's happening. After describing their conversation, it didn't sound like he was trying to get with her, but she said she could be more flirty if I wanted
So this girl, I thought it was a PI, but it sounds like she hired her to okay, keep going. And trap him, basically?
Yeah. But she said she could be more flirty if I wanted her to. I reluctantly gave her permission to try and get my husband to cheat. And a couple hours later, she said she convinced him to go up to her hotel room to edit. She didn't actually go through with it. This happened yesterday. I was shocked. I'm still shocked. It was that easy. All it took was some woman in her 30s to be flirty and he would throw away years of marriage. I'm numb. I'm not sure how to feel. I don't even know if this would have happened had I not hired the private investigator in the first place. Was I out of line? Am I the asshole here? Am I the scallywag here? What does this say about me as a spouse? What escort service did you hire this PI from? I think this would be even worse for me because I'm like, okay, so has he cheated? Was this the first time he cheated?
Yeah, of course.
Especially because you said that you haven't been active in a loving way for like only a month.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and like years of marriage, like only a month?
Yeah.
I mean, you know your husband best and his like his like habits and how he goes through, life and everything like that. But it's still like this private investigator didn't seem so.
This PI works in corn, I think.
Yeah, like that's not what I want.
That's crazy. I don't know, man. So I'm assuming they've had I don't know. Maybe she just didn't even have a conversation about it.
She just
went fully like, he's probably cheating and I'm going to send a PI out rather than being like, hey, we've been distant lately. You're feeling off. Like, give him the benefit of the doubt. Give him the chance to say something.
Yeah.
Like, even like depression or, I don't know. I'm not taking his side, right?
No.
He's shit and he cheated.
No.
But also, you didn't trap your husband.
Yeah.
Just so weird.
And I'll give you this. Like, you do have those gut feelings for sure.
For sure.
And I would say, like, a lot of the times they can be right, but sometimes they're not. And I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't think you're necessarily like a scallywag, but I would have hired someone that was a little bit more discreet.
Yeah, that too.
And not coaxing my husband into it. Like, I just want to see if he's lying about this whole conference thing, or I might have like had the private investigator like, you know, watch him for like a month.
You would have hired a PI, hey?
No, I wouldn't have. I'm just saying if I was
okay. If you're in her situation.
No, I don't think I would. I feel like I could be my own private investigator.
Right? Yeah.
I would hire.
I just hire my best friend.
I was like, I'll just hire my sister. It's fine.
Yeah,
She'll
dude,
follow.
I can go in a wig and look.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's see what the comments say. Yeah. What escort service did you hire this PI
Yes,
from?
seriously.
Yeesh. Your husband is physically and emotionally absent from your marriage, and in your desperation, you tried to trap him into the role of the villain. He may have been anyway, but rather you stand up for yourself, you resorted to this trickery. You're both behaving badly. You asked for advice, but here's mine. Pack a bag and stay with your friend or family member for a few days while you sort your head out.
It's kind of rough, but it's also...
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of... Everybody's the asshole a little bit.
Yeah.
It seems, though, as though... I don't know.
You're both a little bit of scallywags, I would say.
He's more. He's more.
He's more.
Definitely more. But it's a weird situation. I've never been in it. Don't want to be in it.
Nope.
I hope you both find people that actually are good for each other.
Honestly, my husband's too lazy. I'm too lazy.
Yeah, Caleb just doesn't go out anywhere. So not that he would, but he also just stays home with the cows.
You know, if he has a little, like, you know, maybe a little flirtation
I'd be
with
so
a cart girl with all of his golfing.
Yeah, I'd be excited if Caleb went out. I'd be like, oh my god.
But if that, I'd be like, you know, if the cart girl flirted with Adam, I'd just take that as a compliment. Because I'd be like, yeah, right, I have good taste. And I'm a scallywag for never telling my wife I cheated on her. Alright.
Uh-oh. Sounded like it.
Let's dive in. Last week was my 30th wedding anniversary. Dang. Today I turned 54 and is the first day of retirement for my wife and I. My wife and I met when we were 16 through friends and started dating shortly after. We were both complete virgins when we met, so we learned and experienced everything together. We dated all throughout high school and long distance through college, tough, and ended up being married by 3. We have 2 sons and a daughter now, 27, 24, and 22. When I was 27, I slept with another woman because I was curious, drunk, and very stupid. I don't remember many of the details, and they aren't important, but it was a woman that neither of us had ever met, and I never heard from her again. As far as I know, my wife has never found out about this or had any hesitation in trusting me ever. My wife went to college, but didn't end up pursuing much of a career, opting to take care of the kids. It was tough for a while, and we both were stressed, and this was around the time of the affair. Not making excuses for myself, just context to explain why I would be so short-sighted and why I was drinking. But I eventually got a better job, we started budgeting, paid off our loans. From there, money has never been an issue, and we have been happy ever since. I've accepted the fact that I will never truly be happy again. I've accepted the fact that I will never truly be happy again if I want her to get the happiness she deserves. I don't want to pretend the guilt still eats me alive every day. I still love my wife, and she still loves me. We have had so many happy and amazing memories and still do every day, though most usually come with a lingering feeling of guilt too. She spent her whole life dedicated to me, to our children, and our family. Now that we have all the freedom we've been waiting for in our lives, I feel as if I have to come to the crossroads and I have 2 options. 1, continue living life as normal, take trips with my wife, play with my grandchildren, give her the retirement, and the end of life she deserves her husband she loves. I'm not really happy, and I'll never be, but I am also not in a bad place. I could take this level of pain for the rest of my life, and I probably deserve that.
Is he just saying because he cheated he's not happy?
I think so.
That's what it sounds like, I guess.
2, tell her I don't know whether she would leave me now or forgive me. I think she deserves to know the truth, but I also think it could crush her at the time in her life where she's supposed to be the happiest. So I need to know, am I the scallywag for not telling my wife? And is it time to tell her now? Edit for clarification. I know that I was scallywag for not telling her when it happened, and I know every year I didn't tell her makes me more of a scallywag.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
What now?
Shoo, buddy. Oh shit, bud. Damn, that's hard. I mean, it's not hard. I would just say, I don't know. I'm just coming from a place of me.
Yeah.
I would not, first of all, wouldn't cheat, but also would not be able to live with myself.
No.
In like every happy moment that we've had, or any like, because everybody talks about like, oh my gosh, like this person cheated on this person, like with their significant other.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, I could never do that. And like in the back of your head, you know, the guilt would eat me alive.
I couldn't. And then I like, how you did say, I could take this level of pain for the rest of my life and I probably deserve that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, because like, yeah, I think you do deserve that. And kind of protecting her own peace.
Yeah, I understand.
I get it, but at the same time, I think it's also a level of respect for your wife.
Yeah,
She is a grown person to make her own decisions, and
Yeah.
you deserve whatever she decides to do after
Yeah,
that.
it's not that, you don't deserve to be like...
I get that you're like, oh, I'm trying to look out for her happiness,
Yeah.
but you've had how many years to tell her?
Yeah, and I get it, it builds up. I don't know. Like, I don't get it, but I get it. Like, just being devil's advocate, it's just like...
I know.
It's a one thing.
It was a one-time
It was stupid,
thing,
you were drunk, and, and you've had a great
And
life.
you know what? I like, you also said, what else did you say? Oh, here. It was tough while we were both stressed, and this was around the time of the affair, and you were like taking care of the kids and everything like that. Like, as a new mom, that consumes me.
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe I'll get a little bit better as time goes on and everything, but it's like navigating a relationship with a baby and with kids is a whole new thing.
I can't even imagine.
It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new dynamic to the relationship. You're learning so much more about each other, and you got...
Pretty easy not to go somebody, though. Am I right? Just saying.
Like, I get that you went to a bar, like...
Yeah, that's fine.
But how, like, you took the next step. For me, it's like when somebody cheats on somebody, I'm like, there's so many times where you could have just left the situation.
Oh, that's the thing. That's why I don't have sympathy. I'm just like, no, you're a grown-ass adult. Like, you know what you're doing.
That's
you know
why
that you drank. You know that you put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, I still think you should tell your wife, and she should just be like, I know that you're like, oh, this should be the happiest time of her life right now. This should be the happiest time of your life right now, of her life right now. But it's also like, let her,
like, you owe her.
You owe her.
She needs the ability to leave you and go live a different life, or to forgive you, and you guys can get over it together.
Yeah, and actually truly be happy with each other, and you're not carrying this guilt. She could probably read into it after a while.
Yeah, she could think, oh, maybe he's
especially
did it more than once.
Yeah, or especially since you've retired and everything like that. Like, now you're spending all this time together.
Yeah, exactly. Who's to say?
You're obviously the scallywag, but like you said,
I don't know. I would just sit her down and be like, listen.
I'm trying to think what, like, let's say Adam.
Yeah.
Like,
I know in this situation. Me too. I will
if
too.
My husband cheat, like, we've been together for 10 years now. If he said, hey, by the way, year 2. By the way, year 2, you know, when I was at school in Lethbridge, there was this one time that I'd probably be like, okay, I need to know every little detail that happened.
Yeah, torture
myself. Because I would
love
torture
doing
myself.
that.
But I would be like, I need to know why you made this decision, and it'd probably take me some time. I don't think I'd leave him though.
Yeah, I feel like if you've had a really good marriage and all this stuff, and she had the capacity to believe him that he didn't do it, I think they probably would stay together.
Yeah.
It sounds like, or I keep looking at this camera, it sounds like.
Yeah. The other thing would be my kid. Yeah, I like being we're both, like, our parents didn't stay together. I mean, we were super young. We didn't know any different anyways.
No,
but
I was born a bastard. I don't know any better.
I was only like, what, not even 2. Yeah. But it's like, you know, try to keep the family together, I guess, as well.
Yeah, but I mean, the kids are out of the house. So.
That's true too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one. Tough situation. Shouldn't have done it.
Don't cheat. Okay, we're back. She's all washed. I finished. The camera turned off. This is not a proper, I don't know. This video's been a bit of a shit show, but hopefully it's made sense to you. But we're back. We're blonde. I'm gonna blow dry it, but I'm first gonna cut it, and Jessica's gonna read one more story, and then we'll see the final result.
I'm not a scallywag for refusing to celebrate my own birthday.
Me, pretty much.
As the older I get, I'm like, eh. One of our managers just loves to celebrate birthdays. Apparently, they make their own a huge deal. Personally, if you like it, the more power to you. I do not like it. I'm very uncomfortable being sung to, uncomfortable with all the attention. I am fine with the occasional happy birthday, but that's it. At the celebration of another coworker's birthday, I did not eat any of the cake. I did wish them a happy birthday, but I do not like cake. I do not eat it at home. Never been a cake fan.
I did not.
The manager questioned why I didn't have any, and I explained I do not care for cake and never have. They asked me what I usually do for my birthday celebration, and when I explained I do not do anything, they did not believe me. As my birthday approached, I made it clear I did not want any attention, nor did I want any sweets. I do not eat the sweets. I expressed myself to management and 3 coworkers. They kept asking me what treats I like and what is my favorite cake. Well, on the day, my cubicle was decorated, and all of these people were coming up to me wishing me a happy birthday. My spouse told me to just let it go, so I did. until lunch. At lunch, they tried to get me into a conference room to sing to me and had cake and everything. I refused to go in, explained again how much it makes me uncomfortable and how I do not like sweets. Another coworker told me I needed to understand how much effort went into getting me something and decorating. They said I should apologize to the manager for refusing. Once I got home and told my spouse what happened, they said I was wrong and I should have just enjoyed the fact they wanted to celebrate me. I feel they just want a cake party and were using me as an excuse to do that. Am I the scallywag for not wanting the party and not participating in the party?
Dude, y'all, they just want a cake, okay? Is this an office job or something, right?
Yeah, cubicle. They want cake.
Get over yourself a little bit. I mean, I get you don't like to be celebrated. I hate it. I hate it. I hate parties, like birthday parties. I've never liked them. I totally get that. But also, I don't think it was that big of a deal. Like, you could, I don't know. I understand, like, it's a respect thing too, but
it's just
at the end
like,
of the day,
why?
Everyone loves cake, man. It's just an excuse for them to have fun at work.
How long is happy birthday? 20 seconds?
Yeah, and then you get a couple happy birthdays.
However, I mean, my brother-in-law who's special needs, we cannot sing him happy birthday.
Yeah, that's fair, but that's a very special case.
I know. Yeah, but I get it. I get what you don't.
I don't know. But then again, yes, they probably should have just respected it, and they could have just had a cake in your honor.
Right.
And they've been like, hey, there is cake if you want it. They could have gone about it in a less aggressive way.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair, because I don't like to be put on the spot like that either.
No.
So
let's see what people say.
Yeah, I'm curious.
They said no. One person said no. You made it clear you didn't want the party. They threw one anyway. That's on them. When I worked in an office, I always used PTO on my birthday for the exact reason that I didn't want to deal with any birthday nonsense. Another person said no. Another person said no. This person said you shouldn't be put into a situation where you feel uncomfortable.
I take it back. That was the people pleaser in me. I would personally never say that. Like, if somebody did something, they went out of their way to do something, even if it was kind of selfishly for them, I'd be like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like water under the bridge. Like, it's not worth it. I'm just too old now where I'm just like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Who cares? So
yeah, and
I get it.
The person said pretty much no. Pretty much no. I don't think you are. I mean, yeah, a little bit of suck it up. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's just how we grew up.
But at the same time, it's just like I also respect your wish. If somebody told me I hate my birthday, I don't like being celebrated, I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, crazy. Hey, they hate their birthday, but we want cake, so I'm just gonna tell them we're using their birthday for an excuse for cake.
Yeah,
I'd probably just be that straight up and be like, we're using your birthday as an excuse.
And I'd be like,
we won't
go
sing
ahead,
to you.
dude. That's fine. I'll grab a piece, or she didn't like cake, so that's fair.
The world keeps spinning.
Okay, you will see her hair in 3, 2, done. Hopefully that looked good. I love it. Look at how blonde and beautiful and shiny she is. Oh my god.
I feel so good.
Stunning. I think I did 200 foils. You guys were gone for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But we're done.
I accidentally put my sister to work just for the few days she came back to visit me.
I used you. I used you for a video. It's fine.
Thank you.
But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like the video. It really helps out the channel. And also subscribe if you haven't subscribed. This is obviously the best YouTube channel ever. And I'll see your beautiful face in the next video. Okay? Bye!
Huge announcement! I am going on my very first world tour. Yes! It's called the Goodfellow World Tour, and we're kicking it off with the first leg in the US. Here are all the cities right here: Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, Boston, Washington, D.C., New York, Durham, Atlanta, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Cincinnati, and Detroit. If you don't see your city on this leg of the tour, do not worry. I will be announcing a bunch more cities very soon. Tickets are available right now, okay? So thank you so much for the support. I'm really excited for you guys to hear the new hour, and I'll see you soon. Enjoy the video. Disclaimer before this video. These are all conspiracy theories. I don't believe in any of them, and this is purely for entertainment purposes, okay? Folks, let me tell you a cautionary tale. The year, 2008. I was 13 years old, and I had unrestricted, unsupervised access to the internet on my own personal Dell Inspiron 1501. And most of my time spent on my computer at that time consisted of playing Flash games on addictinggames.com and watching Clay World videos on Knox's Corner. But I also frequented many forums for the video games I played. And I talked to people from all walks of life on these forums. And one day I was in a thread talking about Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and for some reason one of the forum members started talking to me about this thing called Nibiru. He went on to say that there was a large planetary object named Nibiru, or Planet X, that was currently on a collision course with Earth. So I watched videos all night about this, and I remember being like genuinely terrified. Like, I fully thought that all my friends and family were gonna die like really soon. So when I got to school the next day, obviously I told my best friend about it, and he said, That's fucking stupid. He used a different adjective because it was 2008, but you know, he really put everything into perspective. Now, what is the lesson there? Don't go on video game forums? Absolutely. But I think the main takeaway is believing in conspiracy theories is a very slippery slope when you're in a vulnerable, isolated state, aka alone on the internet and also 13. But it's important to have people in your real life that you can talk to and bounce information off of, aka your friend calling you stupid. Again, that's not what he called it, but I'm not gonna use the word that he said, especially during Pride Month. For most of my life, conspiracy theories have just been a fun thing that you can talk about with your friends, and you all laugh about how crazy they were. You know, maybe you'd make up your own, and it'd be all silly and goofy, and all around fun time. But these past few years, I've noticed a shift. I feel like conspiracy theories have kind of evolved from silly, harmless theories into absolutely insane conjectures that people base their entire lives off of. So today, I want to explore some modern conspiracy theories, but I want to compare them to the conspiracy theories of the past. And we'll also explore why the popularity and the severity of belief in these theories has increased over the years.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, welcome back to another conspiracy theory video.
I guess we'll start with a little backstory. The history of conspiracy theories is very long and complicated, and it actually dates all the way back to 1863, when the term was first used in a letter to the editor published in the New York Times by author Charles Astor Bristed. He used the term conspiracy theory to describe his claims that British aristocrats were intentionally weakening the United States during the American Civil War in order to advance their financial interests, which honestly doesn't even fucking seem like that crazy of a conspiracy theory at all. That just sounds like a fact. People capitalizing on a war to make money? But the term conspiracy theory was popularized in 1964 when the first mainstream conspiracy theory was born, surrounding one of the most shocking events in American history, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. If you have somehow never heard of this, in 1964, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated by a man named Lee Harvey Oswald while traveling in a convertible limousine in Dallas, Texas. Let's get some John F's in the chat. And the public was told that this was the violent act of one single man looking to further his own political agenda. But when all the details were released, people began to speculate, and rightfully so. There were a lot of strange things surrounding his assassination. There's the mysterious path of the second of 3 bullets that was claimed to have entered through the president's back, out through his chest, and then entered through the governor's back, who was sitting in front of him, went out his chest, went through his wrist, and then became lodged in his leg. That bullet was working overtime, dude. That was the original magic bullet.
Introducing the original magic bullet.
This made people think that there was more than one shooter involved, which directly contradicted the story that was put out. And I could do a whole video on this because there's like so many crazy conspiracy theories surrounding this event. But my favorite conspiracy out of all of them is that JFK wasn't even assassinated at all. His head just did that. But like I said earlier, back in the day, conspiracy theories like this would gain popularity for a while, but then they'd kind of just die out. People would move on. It was the 60s, man. All that acid wasn't gonna do itself. So let's compare this multiple gunman conspiracy to a modern day conspiracy theory.
You're telling me nobody is talking about the fact Lil Wayne is a goat.
Yes, I am telling you that, actually. Nobody is talking about Lil Wayne being a goat. For obvious reasons. He's the goat. Yeah, he's the goat, but he's not a goat. Unless the term goat was created by Lil Wayne's team, because everybody kept suspecting that he was a goat. So they created the greatest of all time acronyms, you know, so if people said he was the goat, like people didn't really bat an eye. It all makes sense. Because what are goats known for? Licking salt. And what is one of Lil Wayne's most popular songs?
That's why he's the GOAT!
This goes all the way to the top of a very steep cliffside covered in goats. All jokes aside though, that is a fucking insane conspiracy. The refraction of light was making his legs look weird in the hot tub. And then in this picture, he's just wearing a pair of very popular Margiela boots. And I know that I said conspiracy theories seem a little crazier now than they did in the past, but maybe we're just seeing them more often now because we have immediate access to the internet like all day. Maybe my hypothesis of conspiracies being crazier in the modern day is incorrect. Maybe they've always been batshit insane, but there's only one way to find out. Yeah, I made some icebergs. I'm sorry, dude, I can't stop. I can't stop making icebergs, dude. I am the opposite of global warming. And I'm going all out in this video because I not only made one iceberg, I made 2. I made 2 icebergs. That is right. A second iceberg just hit the video. Both of these icebergs contain conspiracy theories of varying weirdness and obscurity, but one is old conspiracy theories, and one is modern. You'll notice the old one is in black and white because color actually didn't exist back then. Everything was black and white. Did anybody else seriously think that as a kid, or is that just me? So we're gonna go through both icebergs one level at a time and compare and contrast to finally get the answer to the question, when did conspiracies get so crazy?
Hey, what's up you guys? Yes, welcome back to another
I figured I'd start with theories that are pretty crazy but also really popular. In the black and white iceberg, we've got the moon landing was fake. And we've all heard this one. This is a theory that the Apollo 11 moon landing, done by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, never actually happened at all. And instead, it was actually shot on a film set directed by Stanley Kubrick. And this gained a lot of traction back in the day. A 1970 poll revealed that 30% of Americans believed the moon landing to be fake, even though the theory has been debunked by like every scientist ever. Regardless, people are still very passionate about this. In the year 2002, a conspiracy theorist confronted Buzz Aldrin to his face outside of his hotel, and he demanded that Buzz Aldrin swears on a Bible that he has been to the moon.
You swore on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
But instead of doing that, our boy Buzz did this.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Oh my god, dude. Just punched him in the fucking face, dude. That's awesome. Dude, that is one of my favorite videos of all time. I mean, there was definitely a better, more mature way for Buzz to handle that. But dude, to be honest, I'd have crazy anger issues too if I was Buzz Aldrin. That fucking bastard Neil Armstrong got to be the first guy to walk onto the moon, and he got to say the iconic line.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And then I guess Buzz had to go right after and be like,
me too!
Dude, if I was Buzz, I'd be punching everybody in the face. I don't care. And one of the main pieces of evidence that these conspiracy theorists use is the fact that a shuttle with such a small amount of computing power was able to make the trip to the moon and back. Like, they just don't think that's possible because it was all the way back in 1969, and like our fucking iPhones have more computing power than the shuttle. But in reality, pretty much the only reason the Apollo mission was successful was because of the hard work of a scientist named Margaret Hamilton, the woman responsible for developing the entire guidance and navigation system for the Apollo 11 mission. It just goes to show you that people would rather believe an